Hi, welcome to Hot in the Kitchen. I'm Liz, and today we're going to be making a berry cream mousse. This recipe is a spin-off of a dessert that my grandma used to make for me when I was little, except it included mangoes, but we'll get to that later. For this recipe, you will need about 2 cups worth of chopped up strawberries, 4 egg whites, a can of fat-free condensed milk, about a cup of frozen raspberries, or fresh ones. I prefer frozen because they retain their freshness and all their nutrients longer because they are picked at their peak ripeness, and therefore you don't have to worry about them going bad in the fridge. I always like to have a batch of these in my freezer in case I want something sweet. You will also need a few utensils, a knife, a cutting board, of course, a spatula, probably need a new one, and a hand mixer or a whisk, either one works, and a blender. Let's get to work. Okay, so before we begin, of course, we need to wash our fruit. With strawberries especially, it's very important that you take care of how you wash them and wash them thoroughly. Strawberries, because of these little green leaves here and the crevices, tend to keep a lot of the bacteria that's in the soil when they're picked, etc., pesticides and all of that. So I recommend taking the green off without cutting it so that you don't expose the actual fruit to the water when you rinse it. If you do that, you may strip away some of the nutrients from it. So before you do that, take the green off, rinse it thoroughly, and then cut the little butt of the strawberry. Okay? Once you do that, you can cut it in half just so that it's easier to blend. Once you have that, we put that in our blender, and then we measure out about a cup worth of raspberries, unless you want a little more tartness in there, you can add a little more, but about a cup of raspberries. The easiest dessert recipe you'll ever see. You grab your condensed milk, toss it in the blender. Look at that. When I was little and my mom or my grandma used to make desserts for me or for family or a holiday with condensed milk, I would always beg to lick the can after. Lucky for me, this is my house, and now I can save some for myself later. Once you do that, you blend it. Okay. Now that that's ready, we need to beat our egg whites that we're going to use for our dessert. Okay? So an easy way, if you have trouble separating egg whites from yolks, there's an easy way. You've probably heard of it. If you don't have they sell separators at the store, but if you don't have one, you don't want to buy one, there's a free way of doing it. Crack the egg. Carefully separate the 2 pieces of the shell, and then just move the yolk carefully back and forth between the 2. And that's it. Instant egg whites separate from the yolk. You can either save these for another recipe or throw them away. I'm not planning on making anything soon, and eggs are very touchy when it comes to already being cracked, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Alright, once we have that, put it in a dry container. Our 4 egg whites, remember? Rinse my hands from that egg. And the hard way, beat it with a whisk for a long time until it's nice and fluffy. Luckily, I just got my Food Network hand mixer, so I'm going to use this. Okay. This is the consistency we want. It's like meringue. See how thick it is? That's how you want your egg whites to be. If you're doing it by hand, you're probably not going to get this, but anything close to this. Once it's firm, that's good enough. Last time I did this, I didn't have a hand mixer, so. Once you have your beaten egg whites, you pour and fold in the rest of the mixture. Now, this isn't a mousse, a traditional French mousse by any means, but the egg whites will give your dessert a fluffiness and a softness and a lightness that is not normal with any other cream-based desserts, unless they do have egg whites in them. So for this, you just fold, basically go around. Folding is going like this, just bringing it over and over and under, over and under. Stir gently so as not to kill the foam from the egg. Continuing to this. Preferably, if you're going to be eating raw eggs, which is not necessarily very recommended, if you are going to be eating raw eggs like this, it's probably better to get pasteurized eggs at the store. So if you are planning on making this dessert, I would recommend going to a good Whole Foods store or something like that, where you know they will have good quality, trustworthy pasteurized eggs. It's much, much safer. Okay, so now we have our mousse. See the texture? See how soft it is? Very fluffy. Once you have this, you can either pour it into small individual containers. This makes about 6 to 8 good-sized portions. Or what I like to do, put it in one big bowl, cover it with some plastic, freeze it, put it in the freezer for 30 minutes, bring it out and serve. I like serving it that way because it's more like an ice cream. You can pick how much you want. If you keep it in the freezer longer than that, it will become almost like an ice cream. You can have it either very chilled mousse style, which will be kind of creamy and soft, or freeze it thoroughly and have a fluffy ice cream. That's it. Enjoy!